My wife secretly swapped our embryos with her ex's in IVF because she thought he had better genes, so I swapped our entire life without her knowing. I used to think my marriage was solid. I was Daniel, 32M, and for the last 5 years I had built a life with Sophia, 31F. On paper, we had everything. A nice home, stable jobs, and the kind of relationship that looked perfect to anyone on the outside. But reality? Reality was different. For 2 years, we had struggled to have a child. It started with hope. Then came the disappointment, the negative tests, the silent nights where neither of us spoke because we were both waiting for the next try, the next appointment, the next failure, and then the desperation. I still remember the way her voice cracked when she first suggested IVF. "It's our best chance," she whispered, eyes full of hope. I said yes immediately. I didn't question a thing, because at the time, I still believed we were in this together. Sophia took charge of the process. I thought nothing of it. "You're already stressed enough with work, babe. Let me handle the appointments. It's just routine stuff. You don't need to be there for every step. The clinic will call you if they need anything important." And I trusted her. When we went in for the actual embryo transfer, I sat next to her, holding her hand, watching as the doctor explained the procedure. It was supposed to be our moment, the start of something beautiful. Now, I realized that was the moment she erased me. Months passed. Sophia's belly grew, and so did my excitement. Then, one evening, I was going through some routine medical paperwork, just checking over insurance details, making sure everything was in order. And then I saw it. A sperm donor ID. Not my name, not my case number, a completely different identification code. At first, my brain refused to process it. I double-checked, cross-referenced it with my own case number, but it didn't match. That was the first moment my stomach dropped. I told myself there had to be a mistake, a clerical error. There was no way this was real. I wasn't the type to jump to conclusions. I wasn't paranoid. But I needed to be sure. So the next morning, I went straight to the IVF center. And that was when my entire world collapsed. The moment I stepped into the clinic, I could feel the tension. I went straight to the front desk, calm, polite, just looking for answers. "Hi, I was reviewing some paperwork for my wife's treatment, and I noticed something strange. Can you confirm which embryo was used for our procedure?" The receptionist smiled, completely unaware of the storm she was about to unleash. "Sure, let me pull that up for you." She tapped at her keyboard. I waited, and then she frowned. "That's odd," she murmured. "It looks like the embryo used wasn't the one initially assigned to your case." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, reading the screen again. "It looks like a donor specimen was used instead, but that should have required your signed consent." I stared at her. "I never signed anything." She blinked, then glanced down at the file again. "Oh, it says here that your wife authorized the change." Everything inside me went ice cold. "So you just switched embryos without verifying with me?" Her face went pale. She swallowed. "That's not supposed to happen. We have policies to prevent that." "Then explain how it did." I could feel the pressure building behind my eyes, the kind of rage that comes when you realize your entire life has been ripped away from you in a single moment. She fumbled for words. I don't know. This shouldn't have been possible. Let me speak to our supervisor. We need to look into why you weren't consulted." I didn't wait. I turned on my heel and stormed out. I needed to see her. Now. By the time I got home, I was shaking. I slammed the front door open, footsteps heavy as I walked in, and there she was, sitting on the couch, crying. She already knew. Her face was red and blotchy, her hands shaking as she wiped at her eyes. I barely stepped inside before she choked out, "You went to the IVF center." It wasn't a question. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her. She swallowed, looking up at me with swollen eyes. "My friend works there," she whispered. "She told me you were there. She told me you were fighting with them." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. "Is that the same friend who helped you switch embryos?" She sucked in a breath. Her entire body flinched. That was it. That was all the confirmation I needed. She knew. She knew exactly what she had done. And now it was time to hear the excuses. "Why?" My voice came out cold, quiet. She hiccuped, rubbing her face. You wouldn't understand." She hesitated. Then, finally, the truth started spilling out. I wanted the best for our child," she stammered. I wanted strong genes, healthy genes. Meaning? Meaning. She swallowed. I used my exes. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. She was still talking, her voice shaking. He's tall, strong, athletic, good family history. I just thought our baby deserved the best chance in life. I let out a breath. And then I laughed. A dark, bitter, humorless laugh. Because this wasn't just betrayal. This was insanity. I don't remember how long I stood there staring at the woman I thought I knew. I don't remember when I left, but I remember one thing. I remember the cold, solid thought that settled into my mind as I walked out the door. This wasn't going to end with just a divorce. No, that would be too easy. I wasn't just going to leave her, I was going to erase her. Because she didn't just take my child away from me, she took my entire future. And I was going to make sure she lost hers too. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I checked into a hotel, turned off my phone, and sat in silence, staring at the ceiling. The rage hadn't hit me yet. Not the kind that makes you break things, scream, lash out. This was something different, something colder. Because Sophia hadn't just cheated, she hadn't just lied, she had engineered my removal from my own child's life. And she thought I would never find out. Now I had a choice. I could confront her immediately. Or I could let her believe she had won. Right until the moment I took everything from her. I chose the second option. The next morning, I met with my lawyer. If I leave her now, what happens? She glanced over my case notes, her brow furrowing. You're legally presumed the father unless you challenge paternity in court. If you don't contest it fast, you could still be held responsible for child support, regardless of biology. I swallowed hard. She had almost trapped me permanently. What if I prove she committed fraud? My lawyer sat back, tapping her pen. That would change everything. If we can establish intent, that she deliberately misled you, then you wouldn't be financially liable. But we need solid proof. The fertility clinic's documentation would help, but ideally, we need a recorded admission. I nodded. And what about our assets? You need to move them, immediately. If she files first, she can argue for an even split. I had work to do. For the next few weeks, I played my role. I went home, smiled, pretended, while silently dismantling everything she had built. I pulled my money out. Our shared accounts, drained and transferred. The house, legally untangled from her claim. I documented her fraud. I met with the fertility clinic director, who confirmed that Sophia had signed off on the donor switch herself. When I requested an investigation into how this happened without my consent, they found that her friend had bypassed verification. The clinic fired her friend immediately. I got her confession. I let her think I hadn't figured it all out yet. I started asking small, calculated questions about her ex, about the clinic. She let things slip. Little inconsistencies, tiny details that didn't add up. I secured my legal escape. I filed a formal dispute with the fertility clinic, ensuring a record was created. I arranged with my lawyer to challenge paternity immediately upon filing for divorce. I set up a private meeting with her ex, the child's real father. And then I prepared for the final blow. Because I wasn't just leaving, I was going to make sure she had nothing left when I was done. The day of the reveal, I came home early. Sophia was in the nursery, humming a lullaby, folding tiny baby clothes. I stood in the doorway, watching her for a long moment. She looked peaceful, content, like a woman who had everything she wanted. She turned, smiling. "You're home early," she said, walking toward me. I let her kiss me. Let her think, for just a few more seconds, that her world was still intact. Then I pulled the manila envelope from my coat pocket and placed it on the dresser. Her smile faltered. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it." She hesitated before pulling out the legal documents. The divorce papers, and the official notice from my lawyer revoking financial support. She skimmed the first few lines, her breath catching. Then she looked at me, confusion flickering across her face. "What is this?" "It's everything you deserve." Her eyes darted back to the papers, flipping through them faster, searching for something that wasn't there. Her name wasn't on any major assets. The house? Mine. The savings? Gone, transferred months ago. Any shared financial ties? Dissolved. She went stiff. "You," her voice shook. "You planned this." I smiled. "Of course I did." She gripped the papers tightly, her hands turning white. "Daniel, please, we can fix this." "Fix what?" I interrupted, my voice even. "You didn't want me. You wanted my name, my money, my life. You made that clear when you swapped our child for someone else's. Her face twisted, panic creeping in. But the baby. I stared at her, not mine. The air between us felt thick, suffocating. Sophia was trembling now, chest rising and falling unevenly. You can't just walk away from us, she whispered. Watch me. I turned, heading for the door. Behind me, I heard a soft sob, the first of many. The courtroom was silent. The only sound was the shuffle of paperwork and the occasional whisper of attorneys conferring with their clients. I sat at my table, calm, composed, ready. Sophia sat across from me, tense, her hands gripping the table like it was the only thing keeping her upright. She knew she was losing, but she still thought she could talk her way out of it. She thought her tears, her usual performances would work. She was wrong, because this time there was nothing to manipulate. Everything was documented. Everything was laid out in black and white. The fertility clinic report, the financial transfers, the written statements confirming that the embryo switch was premeditated. This wasn't an argument, it was an execution. The judge flipped through the files, adjusting her glasses. She looked at Sophia's lawyer. Mrs. Carter, does your client have anything to dispute the evidence provided? Her lawyer hesitated, shifted, then shook his head. No, Your Honor. The judge turned to Sophia. Then let's discuss financial resolution. Given the evidence of fraud, Mr. Carter's assets remain his sole property. Mrs. Carter will not receive any financial compensation from this divorce. Sophia's head snapped up. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering furiously. The judge continued, her tone neutral, final. Additionally, given that Mr. Carter is not the biological father, the court recognizes his right to revoke any paternal claims to the child. He will not be financially obligated for child support. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Sophia's lawyer cleared his throat, stood quickly. Your Honor, my client requests consideration for emotional damages due to the dissolution of the marriage. She was under stress and the judge held up a hand. Enough. Mrs. Carter willingly deceived her husband, knowingly altered medical procedures without his consent, and falsified financial statements. There will be no additional compensation awarded. She tapped her gavel once. This court finds in favor of the petitioner, Daniel Carter. Case closed. And just like that, it was over. Sophia sat frozen. Her lawyer closed his briefcase without a word. I stood, buttoned my suit jacket, and walked out. Outside the courthouse, I took a deep breath. The air felt lighter, free. I pulled my phone out, blocked her number, and deleted every last trace of her from my life. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. I already won.